Welcome to Learn at Work podcast, which is sponsored by iOS Press, the publisher of Work, a journal of prevention, assessment, and rehabilitation. We're delighted to host this podcast that will bring together insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions on topics that matter most in the realm of health, rehabilitation, work, prevention, and assessment. What can you expect from our podcast? We'll have expert interviews, individuals who have published in the journal, and we'll dive into conversations with leaders who have shared their valuable experience and expertise. You'll learn about different latest work trends, technology, and best practices. I'm Karen Jacobs, the founding editor of Work, and I'm the moderator of these podcasts. I am delighted to be traveling virtually to Sweden today. I really wish I was traveling there in person. But Sarah and Johanna are our guests today. So, Sarah, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then Johanna, you could do that next.
Okay, so I am Sarah. I live and work in Örebro, Sweden. And Örebro is a medium-sized city measured in Swedish measures, located between the capital Stockholm and the capital of Norway, Oslo. We have here a mid-sized university. It's quite new as a university. It just celebrated 25 years of being a university. And what we basically do here, we do different kinds of research, but we have is also I think that the technology institution is quite large, but our institution, which is the health institution, is also quite large. And myself, I am an audiologist by training. I have a license. You need to have a license to practice as an audiologist in Sweden. But I currently work at the university, dividing my time between research and teaching. And Johanna do as well. We belong to an interdisciplinary research environment or group called where we focus a lot of different aspects in relation to disability. I especially are interested in disability or hearing in relation to more societal aspects, such as working life.
And I'm Johanna, the Swedish pronunciation at least. I have basically the same position as Sarah. But I'm a behavioral scientist. Did my master in it, and I have a PhD in disability research, just as Sarah. So, and I also am involved in social work as well. So I kind of go interdisciplinary between these different disciplines or areas. And I have been researching working life for people with from disadvantaged group, like people with disabilities, for example, or people with other kind of issues that have some difficulties to enter labor market since 2010 or a bit earlier, in fact. I have also worked in this area, so in my previous career, but nowadays I work as a senior lecturer at the university and divide my time between research and teaching. And yeah, Karen.
You both are so busy and such important roles. And I have to say, one of the reasons I was very excited about having this conversation is I have a hearing loss.
Oh.
I did expect this. It was something that was hereditary.
Mm-hmm.
And at our college at Boston University, my college is Sargent College of Health and Rehabilitation Sciences, we have an audiology department. and the students and the faculty there have been monitoring my hearing. Now I'm going to go back in time, maybe 20 years,
Yeah.
which has been great. And what has occurred from that, right before COVID, I needed to get hearing aids.
Mm.
And so it's been interesting to acknowledge having a hearing loss and to try to address that for myself in the workplace and what that's like. So I
Mm.
was very excited about the work you're doing.
Oh, thank you very much.
So I'd love you to go back in time, each of you,
Mhm.
and tell us about your careers.
Well, okay, if I go first, this is Sarah. Well, I did my undergraduate training in the 90s to become an audiologist. And I think that the reason that I actually chose this area is because that I grew up with a father with a severe hearing loss. And I think that I realized quite early on that hearing loss is so much more than just reduced audibility. It comes with all different aspects, and it truly is a disability for many people with hearing loss. Not everybody experience difficulties in life, but some do. And I think that that really caught my interest and where I wanted to pursue my career. I also studied linguistics, which was a great way to combine these two areas. And I have worked as an audiologist clinically for several years before I started to go into academia. And I was very lucky because when I decided to become a PhD student, we had a great research institute at Örebro University, which actually was a collaboration between several universities in Sweden called the Swedish Institute for Disability Research. And what's really great about that is that it offered a PhD program where you could meet and collaborate with other persons from other areas. And that's actually how Johanna and I met, because we haven't really got into touch or met each other if it hasn't been for this CIDR, the Swedish Institute for Disability Research. And we kind of, okay, I don't know about you, Johanna, but at least I felt that we hit it off right away. We had the same goals, we had the same interest, and we also saw that we had skills and competences that we really could join and do something great to build from and to conduct great stuff with that. So I think that although I am an audiologist and I clearly have a very medical training in that sense, I have after my undergrad training and into my more research career focus so much more on to the lived experiences of hearing loss. I think that that's really what's most interest for people with hearing loss. I mean, most people have hearing losses that are not curable, meaning that they have to learn to live with the hearing loss. So I think that's also a reason why we hit it off so well, Johanna and I.
Yes, I only agree.
That's wonderful. And I think, Sarah, sharing your own story of having a father with a hearing loss, you had that lived experience, which I
Mm,
think is really important to acknowledge. And
yeah.
it's interesting. I'm going to do a parallel with myself. It was my children that said to me, "Mom, you're just really not hearing us,
Mm,
and you need to do something. You need to do something about it."
mm,
And I did. So, but it's still a challenge, I think, in the workplace.
yeah.
And maybe that's what you could share with us, what that's like for people, and your own work that you're doing now, and your relationship with the journal work. That would be great.
Mm.
Mhm.
So, Johanna, do you want to say something about your career choices?
Uh, Yeah, It has been almost like the same journey as you have, Sarah. In a bit, but I go for I did my master in psychology instead. Not that medical, but a bit medical. But it was, I really loved it. Really loved to learn more about how people functions, how they think, their cognition, their everything about it. And but I did later on in that education, I go for the work psychology because I thought that was the most important, maybe uh, just to have to be able to function in work is a big part of people's life, and I come across this vocational rehabilitation issues, for example, and this was also very interesting. So that's what I went for when I finished my master. So I worked for a couple of years with support employment, a method for people with disabilities that was placed in kind of a social work setting in Sweden. So I also learned more about that as well at that time. But during my work at that, it was a foundation who worked with support employment. I got an opportunity to become a PhD student. So I divided my job between half-time PhD student and half-time supporting people with disabilities to work. And it was all kind of disabilities. It was people with hearing loss, some people with hearing loss I met, but more people with like psychosocial disabilities and so on. But later on, I went to university full time to work there as a teacher as well, and so that is. Then we met.
We met.
We met. We met in the PhD education, but we also started to work together in this with the teaching and researching together. And we also share a room for some years.
Oh yeah,
And
an
that has
office.
been,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
an
right.
office. So
An
that
office.
has been a really good way of working, I think, because we could just turn to each other and say, "Oh, I have a new idea," that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
I
But
love that. I love that. That's great.
and I think that at some point well, I always knew that Johanna, she was specialized in work psychology, and as I said, I think that I mean, the more societal or the more social consequences of hearing loss, they are very interesting and they are very relevant to the target group. And so at some point we started to discuss whether we should apply for a huge grant to conduct research about hearing loss in working life. And we actually got that grant, which makes it possible for us to conduct several studies and also to get a really nice start of our research career. And there has just been so many people that have shown interest in this kind of research in Sweden. We have been to so many popular scientific conferences where we have launched our results, and we have been invited of the Swedish Association of Hard of Hearing People so many times that they want to come speak to the members and so on. So I think that the research has been quite important for the people that have hearing loss. And Johanna, how did we decide on that we wanted to submit our research to work?
For me, in my research area, work has been the journal work has been a journal that I always check in some way because it's really is research in my area that is in- uh, that is the latest research in that area. So I think for me it's been natural to be in that. But for you, Sarah, as
Audio.
audiologist,
Yeah.
it says you have looked more at other journals, but when I when we discussed it, I say, but work could be the place. But I haven't seen so much about hearing loss in work, so we was a bit unsure about is this the right place for it, because of course it's rehabilitation, but I think people with hearing loss is not regarded as kind of a disability group, or what you could say in that sense. So also not that a group that has been in vocational rehabilitation, but not the main group for that kind of interventions. I would say it was a bit unsure of how it would turn out.
So yeah, so I really appreciate you, identifying that work would be a place to publish your scholarly work. And now you two are doing something extremely special with the journal. So maybe you can share um, what you're doing.
Oh, you mean the paper that we had
Yes,
submitted?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So we have, when we started this work about hearing loss in work and life, we were quite sure quite immediately that we wanted to embrace a health perspective, because a lot of research that's been conducted in the hearing loss area is always about problems, but very few solutions. So we wanted to highlight and think about identifying factors that actually contribute to people being able to be in working life, because we know from statistics that there is an overrepresentation in the general populations about those with hearing loss. They are more in sick leave and long-term sick leave and things like that. But on the other hand, there are also a great number of persons who actually work well in the working life. And we were interested in trying to learn from them. What what is it that makes them function well in the working life? So that's really the major perspective that we have embraced here. We focus on what works well and how can you actually stay in working life when you have a hearing loss. So hopefully, what we hope for is that um this aspect that we have identified in this paper and in our research as a whole, we have other papers also in manuscript form, will actually help people to guide the work or organize the work before people ends up in sick leave. So that's really the main focus in this paper.
Thank you. And I'm very proud to have us publish it. And it's the editor's choice paper. So within the journal, I write a monthly editors from the editor, and I select a paper and for each of the issues, and yours was selected. So
Wow.
congratulations.
Wow,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much.
You're welcome. So, as we wind down this podcast, I want to ask each of you if you would share what you love to do outside of working. We always talk about work-life balance. I love in the winter cross-country skiing or kayaking in the summertime. What sort of um, interesting? It doesn't have to be interesting. What kinds of things do you love to do outside of your worker role?
Hmm.
Mm.
Do you want to go first, Johanna?
Yeah, I can go first. We have a house by one of the big lakes in Sweden, Vättern. So we are there almost it's not that far from home. So, but we are there almost all the summer, and even in the winter time. And in the summertime, we go out on the lake to just be on the lake. We do stand-up paddle boarding, and we have a boat and so on, and we meet friends and gather with them and really enjoy spending time outside and go sailing. We have a sailboat as well. So that is, and in the wintertime we went into the woods and over the forest and just go for long walks, and we maybe sometime we can go cross country skiing, but it hasn't been so much last years because it hasn't been so much snow for a long period of time. But that just going out in the nature, to be on a lake.
Oh, we kind of fit right into the stereotypic view of Swedish people because, it's the same for me. We also have a summer house where we go and walk in the forest. I have a dog, living a quite slow life with not really that much of electricity, so we have to boil the water for dishwashing and stuff like that. But I just love that. I just love the slow life when I have my spare time. This is where I get my energy from, actually. It's a complete opposite from the everyday life, which is quite busy with work and other family activities.
I love that. And, we have some more parallels. I live in one of the dormitories at Boston University. I'm a faculty and resident, but I also felt that I needed a place that would be in nature for my children and grandchildren and myself. And so I have a home that we bought 16 years ago. It was a fixer-upper, and it's one of our places to go just decompress. So that's so important when you have a busy work life to have that balance. So I'm so happy for you. And I'm happy you could be on Learn at Work today. And I want to thank you and I want to thank our listeners. We love being able to feature our authors and our editorial board members. And if there's anyone out there who would like to share their story, please reach out to me at work. Thank you both so much.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, same. Thank you so much.